Hello, I'm Gordon Campbell,
And I'm Alexander Campbell.
and I would like to invite you to a concert that is definitely going to be one of the high points of my artistic life on the 1st of March in the Angela Peralta Theater at noon. And this is the first time we will ever play together.
How in the world does this happen? You have a 25-year-old gorgeous son. Gordon, how is it the first time you guys play together? Tell us the story.
Well, I think it might be convenient for me to tell the story.
Absolutely.
Because when I was 20, we grew up apart, obviously. I was playing an orchestra concert with a very famous national violinist called Erika Dobosiewicz.
Uh-huh.
And she, I didn't know her, but she was she had a very kind disposition. I had a few master classes with her, and with time we grew
Closer?
closer,
Uh-huh.
like friends. And she one day said, "Hey, but how are you with your father?" And I'm like, "I don't talk to him." And she's like, "Why? He's a wonderful person, a great conductor, and you should meet him."
God bless her.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of scared. And she's like, here is his phone. And she gave me his phone, and it was like, okay. I waited like a week, and she calls me, "Did you call him?"
Good mentor.
Yeah. And I was like, "No, call him now. I told him already, and he's waiting for your call." And I'm like, well, damn, I gotta do this now.
Can't avoid it.
Yeah. So I called my father, and it was wonderful. It was awkward at first, obviously. I think I never spoke to him like after, I don't know, like when I was 5, 4.
Is that when they separated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And he invited me over to Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, nice.
And from that point on, we are the best friends.
Yay, that's awesome.
So yeah, and in the past year, I don't know, I played, and he conducted the Beethoven concerto.
I'd like to interject at that point, because Alexander, when he was 18, won a national competition on the violin, and I still wasn't in touch with him, but other people said, "I don't know, what's happening with this guy? He's decided he doesn't want to play the violin anymore."
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And when we actually got together and met in Puerto Vallarta, at that point he was convinced he was going to go in a direction of high-level computer technology.
It's
And
probably
that-
more lucrative.
Absolutely, yeah. And the same. I was also able to help him, kind of as an intermediate thing, get him a scholarship. But anyway, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Nothing like that worked out. And then he went to Guadalajara for a little while, and I also helped him out with that,
Of course.
the contact of getting the job.
Yeah.
But that didn't work out so well either, and all of a sudden logically, he goes back to Zacatecas to live and do a master's degree in philosophy. You know, where it was. And in the course of the philosophy course, he has to go to Spain.
Uh-huh.
And so I say, "Alexander, if you're going to Spain, would you be interested in an evaluation from a violin player that I met in Paraguay. Wouldn't you be interested maybe in having him listen to you and
Tell me some things.
and give his opinion? Yeah, he'd do that. So while he was in Spain, I to this day I don't know exactly what happened, but this guy somehow lit a fire under his enthusiasm for the violin.
Wonderful.
And he comes back from Spain. He said, I think I want to play the violin. and I said, well, okay. So prove it to me. And he said, well, I booked myself to play the Brahms double concerto for. And I go, whoa! I mean, that's not
In Zacatecas or?
yes, but that's not a little. It's not. I'm going to play a recital. No, this is big stuff. and I said, well, in that case.
So Alexander is shy and retiring, and.
Well, he is, but except when he has the violin in his hands.
Okay.
And at that point, I said, well, if you're doing the Brahms, why don't you come and play the Beethoven concerto with me? And he said, okay.
Cool.
I said, okay.
So we get this historic moment.
And it's like, wait a minute. Didn't anyone tell this guy that those are hard pieces? But fortunately, I had heard him play even when he was about 18 in Aguascalientes. And heard him play the Brahms.
Oh, so you were in the audience.
I went to meet him, and he wasn't. He was.
Yeah. Wanted nothing to do
It
with
didn't
it.
happen.
Yeah.
But I was there, and at that point, I knew he could really play.
Yeah.
And so, at that point, we had the program, and we collaborated, and I watched his playing just from like a really great student to a really great professional happen in like 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And
Because he just decided, and then it was a whole heart ahead.
and so
And he helped me really much in developing that vision and that level.
Oh,
in
what a
those 3
great
days.
story.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so, I'm not sure exactly when in that process I decided, we ought to do a concert for the Camerata Campbell together. And I thought, oh God, I've got to really get my horn playing back together. And,
I helped him, now I can't keep up with him.
I'm maybe a lot of the people that have watched me conducting, and it's amazing, even in Culiacan, there are, even now some of the young horn players have no idea that I taught most of the people that are in the first horn positions in Mexico City.
Yeah, interesting.
And so maybe outside of the people that heard me play a few years ago with one of our concerts, which is Mozart and his Women, I played a part of a horn concerto. Maybe a few people don't know that I recorded Mozart's horn concertos and had a 15-year career in Mexico City as first horn in various orchestras in Mexico. So that was my life really before I moved into conducting full-time.
And that would have been about the time you met his mother, I assume, or no?
It was kind of, I was full-time conductor by that point, but
okay.
also collaborating with chamber music throughout the country. And believe it or not, where we met was in Zacatecas. Playing in a chamber.
And that's where you've been raised, where you lived your
He's
whole
been
life.
raised there.
Yeah,
Even though at the time I was living and conducting in Aguascalientes, and where I formed the orchestra there.
Right, and
And
so
then-
close, so
Right.
Yeah.
Hop, skip, and a
Really
jump.
close.
Yeah, but and just to close out, Alexander, would you tell us a little bit about yourself? I'm so fascinated that you're trilingual. I haven't told you my background, but I'm a cross-culturalist, and this kind of mixed culture heritage is very fascinating for me, and I think for some of our listeners.
Yeah. Well, as everyone knows by this point, I grew up in Zacatecas, but I
Before
was
you lived
born in Mexico City.
Okay.
And briefly, until I was 4, I was in Aguascalientes.
Okay.
And well, my grandmother, my mother's from my mother's part,
My mother's side.
side. She was the one who taught me all I know about the Russian culture, and well, she was a stay-at-home grandma.
God bless her. Yeah, and so she
Because-
spoke to you in Russian every day you grew up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She lived in Russia, but she came for the first 5 years of my life to live here in Mexico.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, and so Russian was my first language.
Cool.
So when they dropped me off at the
The
Oh.
kindergarten.
kindergarten, I was like
Lost.
Yeah,
What do you say?
it's one of my first memories. It's like I don't know how to speak. And
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell do these people want from me. And I was like crying the whole day at school and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that by 5 I got
yeah,
Spanish.
kids are fast.
Yeah. So, and I don't remember anyone teaching me, so
You
it was
just
natural.
picked it up, yeah.
Yeah, and this is how I got my first two languages. But the English part, everyone always asks me, you know English because of your dad? I'm like, no, I had to learn it. By age 14, I was out of middle school, and I skipped the high school. My mother and I thought it was a good idea for me to concentrate on violin. So we skipped, and at that time I learned English in a school called Big Learning. I don't know. It's
A language school.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just the moment I finished it, the school went bankrupt. So it was a lucky.
Yeah. Well,
Of
they
me.
taught you well, you
Yeah.
learned well. Yeah.
Yeah.
They kept the money and you kept the words.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good trade.
So yeah, and from that point onwards, as I was telling you before, I really like to read in English.
Yeah.
So that's how I was able to keep the
That's
language
good.
from falling out of use.
That's good.
Well, yeah.
And the Russian too, then, or you and your
Yeah.
mother speak Russian still?
Yeah, we speak Russian all day at home.
Okay, good.
Though I don't live with her anymore, so I don't get as much practice, but it's enough to not get rusty.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
that's awesome. Well, thank you both for coming today, and hopefully everybody will join the concert on March 1st.
yeah, we'll be pleased to.